I'm making a death record. So I'm just going to have some of my ashes put into a record that
Hell yeah.
after I die. And side A, my manic side, and side B, my depressive side. So the first song off the manic side is Lust for Life.
Oh, okay.
Lust for life, sweet 16, some weird sin. I am the passenger. We are right tonight. Here comes success. Here comes stepping on our hearts against a neighborhood threat. Fall in love with me.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Full Spin Club. My name is David Stewart. I'm the host of this online album listening club, and today we have John Holmes in the building. Give it
What's
up.
up?
All right. John Holmes brought Iggy Pop's Lust for Life to the club today.
Let's rock out.
And if you're new to the club, there are three main segments to this show. There is On a Pedestal, where we talk about the highlights of this record. There is not On a Spit, we changed the name to Discourse, where we talk about sort of like the lowlights or the questions I had while I was listening to the record, because the people who bring the albums now are just big fans, and I don't want to yuck any yums. And then there's On a Turntable, where we get to know our guest using their favorite album as sort of the backdrop for the questions. So with that, John, how you doing, man?
I'm all right. How are you, David?
Good, man. Happy belated birthday. It was your
Thank
birthday
you.
yesterday.
Yeah, February 22nd, 2025.
Heyo. Like, this is going to come out many weeks after this.
I know.
So we're going to date ourselves a little bit.
Oh, yeah. Sorry, I'm not keeping it evergreen.
Yeah, it's not, well. No, I mean, I barely do. I got so wrapped up in like my release schedule that like I'll be like, yeah, that should be on YouTube by now. Like talking about like the the live shows, and like it definitely isn't.
It's all right.
But I don't know. I'm behind on editing. Who cares? So I usually have I now have a new segment to bring, like, kind of get the show started. It's called Liner Notes.
Yeah.
And the liner notes is I'm wondering why you wanted to bring Iggy Pop's Lust for Life to the club today.
All right. If you had to, I'm going to answer your question with a question.
Okay.
If you had to guess who are my two heroes, idols, people I look up to, try and live my life like.
I feel like this is like pointed because like I'm gonna say Iggy Pop. That feels like
one.
That seems like a gimme. The other one's like George Carlin.
Nope.
Dang it.
Steve McQueen.
Okay,
I was Steve McQueen.
I was never gonna get there.
I love Steve McQueen.
Where? All right,
Steve McQueen. Excuse me.
Where's Steve McQueen from? I'm showing my ignorance here.
Oh, you don't know who Steve McQueen is?
I don't.
Oh, dude, he was the king of cool in the 60s and 70s. He was in Bullet.
Okay.
He was an actor.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
He's pretty cool.
All right. Well, I don't want to derail anything.
All right,
I just did not know who that person is.
Yeah, no, it's okay. Iggy Pop's one of my heroes, though. I love Iggy. He just is... Dude, the way he dances and the way he just rocks, it's just the I don't give a fuck attitude of everything.
Okay. Hell yeah. So like this was my introduction to Iggy Pop.
Yeah.
Cuz like I am not as versed in like 60s and 70s music as
Okay.
other people that have come on the show even as of late. So like Garrett Teitelbaum talked about Grateful Dead. Chris Weir brought John Prine.
Yeah.
Like these are people that I'm like not super aware of cuz
wow.
my entrance to music as a child was classical.
Oh, that's right. You were a viola player.
Yeah, and then after classical, I found myself like listening to like Green Day.
Yeah,
that was so like I think like American Idiot was the first album that like entered our household that wasn't like a child's geared like thing, or it wasn't like a Now CD.
Yeah.
And so that was it. And so then from there, I've been kind of following music as like time progresses. I never really looked back all that far.
Oh yeah.
The furthest I've gone back is probably like the late 80s, early 90s when it comes to like rap.
Okay.
So you're going to be doing a lot of the heavy lifting.
I can. That's fine. He's a hero of mine. I know all about him. He started in the band the Stooges.
Okay.
Which is like late 60s, early 70s. They made 3 albums originally.
Mm-hmm.
Self-titled, Welcome to the Funhouse, and Raw Power. Those albums, like, basically not invented, but very much like Iggy Pop is considered the godfather of punk rock.
I kind of picked up on that from this.
Yeah.
So, like, I was like, during my listens, I was like, okay, I see, like, these are the seeds being planted of punk.
Yeah, just fast guitars, screaming lyrics over nonsense while doing crazy antics on stage. There's that famous photo of him at Crosley Field, I think, in Cincinnati in 1970, where he's just like pointing, but he's being held up by the audience.
Oh, wow.
He's like standing, and pointing somewhere, and they're all holding him up.
That's sick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But Iggy Pop was notorious for his kind of drug use and wild antics on stage.
Okay. So, as Iggy Pop is your hero, what about this record is like makes it like made you choose it over others?
Oh,
because like his discography is long.
Yeah. He has a lot. This is probably his most popularized album. Because a lot of it was used in the film Trainspotting, and
oh, okay, yeah.
But I love Lust for Life. I'm making a death record.
Okay.
Which just sounds more morbid than it is. I'm just gonna have some of my ashes put into a record that after I die, and it's 2 sides, right? Like most records.
Yeah.
But there's side A, my manic side, and side B, my depressive side.
Okay.
So on the manic side, it's all songs that get you pumped and energized, and then on the depressive side, it's all song that makes me cry.
Okay.
I think that's pretty fitting for.
Is there a
Bipolar
service that does
2.
this for you?
Yeah.
Okay.
It costs a lot of money, but
yeah.
I can give you my whole plan of death if you would want.
Maybe we'll get into that.
What happens to my body if
it gets pressed into a record? Apparently.
Yeah.
All right, hell yeah. So that's why you want to bring it to the club.
So the first song off the manic side is "Lust for Life."
Oh, okay.
Because it's just that song gets me going, dog.
Yeah.
And it's some of the lyrics I think are about from a William S. Burroughs book about Johnny Yen and hypnotizing chickens.
Oh, okay.
So that comes from a William S. Burroughs book, I think. I'm pretty sure. But yeah, it's just the amount of energy he gives to every performance, even when he was on heroin.
Yeah, that's impressive. Yeah.
But I mean, like, it would be, it was, I've seen documentaries on him. It's just wild. Like, people threw a jar of peanut butter up there and he would start smearing it on his chest, but then like cut himself.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So, like, do you think that performance is an important part of music in general, or like, because like I'm more of an album guy.
Yeah.
Like, live music has never been my thing. I don't like sharing. That's my relationship with that album is always like that's my relationship with it, and like I don't want to meet the people who are also into this because I'm like, what if I don't like you?
Yeah. That's all right. I can say I like live music in general. I love going to concerts.
But like so like because you mentioned like the performance aspect of it. Like he's like putting everything he's got onto the stage. What about that do you think is so interesting? Well, like, I
mean, because it's I think it comes down to respect.
Okay.
Maybe not respect for yourself, but at least giving the audience something that they're gonna remember.
Right. That's interesting. Yeah.
They paid money to be here. Let's give them a show.
Okay. Hell yeah. So that brings us to our first segment, our first traditional segment, On a Pedestal. And usually I start this segment with the question, so as someone who, like, when I share music, it's usually sharing like a part of me. Like, I'm like if I love that record, there's usually a really specific reason why I love it. When it comes to this record, when you were sharing it with, thinking about sharing it with me, what were some of those things on your list of, like, I hope David picks up on, X, Y, or Z?
Well, I mean, this is such an honest album, but it was also produced by David Bowie.
Oh, shit. Okay. That actually makes some later segments very funny.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who's your favorite pedophile? Yeah, we can cut that.
Sorry. Jared Fogle.
Mine's David Bowie.
Okay. Hell yeah. Was he really?
Yeah, there was some allegations,
allegations
about him sleeping with a young girl back in the 70s.
Oh, okay. Well, him and Seinfeld.
Yeah. I know, right?
All right. So, what are some of the things that you like wanted me to pick up on?
I think it's a brutally honest album. Like the song "Tonight" was actually redid by David Bowie, but he left out the beginning verse where it said, "I saw my baby, she was turning blue, and then I knew her young life was through." That song's about a heroin overdose of a lover.
Yeah.
But then when the guitars and everything, the music kicks in, it's such a jaunty tune.
Nothing like punk to like, cause like that's like what I love about pop punk is like sad lyrics over like ripping, like head bobbing stuff.
Yeah.
All right, so I picked up on that. I actually picked up on the Bowie thing.
Yeah.
Because I was like, this sounds a lot like Bowie.
Yeah.
And I was like, actually, one of my things for the next segment was like, who came first, Iggy or Bowie?
Well, Bowie actually. Let's see, Raw Power with the Stooges was actually produced by David Bowie.
Oh, okay.
So and that was like 72, 71, something like that. And Raw Power is an amazing album, but so that's where their relationship started. And this whole album was written in West Germany,
Okay.
West Berlin, during the 1977.
Okay.
So a lot of the things like The Passenger is a good tune because he was mostly like Iggy Pop was mostly David Bowie's passenger throughout.
Oh, sure.
Just riding around, doing everything with him.
Yeah. That's interesting. Like, I've never had like a consistent creative like bro.
Yeah.
Like I'm so
well, you don't like sharing.
Yeah, exactly. I don't like sharing. Well, like I don't like influence when it comes to like my own creative work, or like I don't like, because like there are people who date comics, and like I never understood it because like I was like I kind of want to be the one that does this well.
Yeah.
So like I don't understand that dynamic, or like my creative friendships always seem to fall apart. Just out of like weird jealousy or anything like that.
Yeah.
So I like that's an interesting to like ride around with someone like that and still like kind of be famous in your own right.
Yeah.
Something else I did pick up on like the early punk stuff. I was like, this is sounding like the other thing I had like it was like I'm just burning through the next.
No, it's all right. We can slow down. I can talk more about Lust for Life.
But like I was like Punky Holly is like what this reminded me of because it was like. It's still sort of like doo-woppy in like the littlest ways, but like I can see the like beginnings of punk coming out.
Yeah, well, this one was a lot more popularized than their other album, The Idiot, which has the song China Girl on it. You ever heard that?
Mm-mm.
Okay. China Girl, just another song about heroin.
Yeah. Classic 70s.
Classic 70s Iggy Pop.
Yeah.
But that's you should listen to that album also.
Okay.
The Idiot. It's a lot more. Also released in 77. It's a lot more like art house kind of new wave.
Okay.
But this was 77, so it's like still early on in that kind of industrial sound.
Yeah. So like, yeah.
But that was produced by Bowie also. This one was trying to be more Iggy Pop taking control of it.
Okay. Do you think he wanted to make it more approachable? Because it's like as far as like like I said, it's like the seeds of punk.
Yeah,
and, like,
yeah.
There's a lot of that early punk that's like not approachable at all. Like there's like the Death Spike folk like with their hair.
Yeah.
And they're like we actually don't want people to join us. We want this to be our thing.
Yeah.
So you think this was like an actual like concentrated effort on Iggy Pop's part to like be mainstream?
I don't think it was to be mainstream. I think it was to just because The Idiot, David Bowie had most influence over him. Like this should sound like this. This should be like you should say that. So in this one, it was a lot more of Iggy just trying to gain control of his own career.
Sure. And like okay. So did he have like a more like he wanted more people in?
I don't think it was more in, or I think he just wanted to make a good music.
Okay.
Like, I think that should be everyone's.
Yeah, hopefully that'd be everyone's goal. But hell yeah, man. So what are your top 3 songs off of this record? Like, if you like, I'm sure you love the whole thing.
Yeah.
But if you were to like power rank,
Lust for Life is very good. It's number 1, obviously. If I put that number 1 on my death record, it's gonna be number 1 on this list.
It'd be wild if it didn't make the top 3.
Let's see here. I'd say. Let's see, Lust for Life, then probably Tonight is such a good song and truthful and hurts a lot to listen to it if you know what it's about, if you listen to the lyrics, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Then probably 3 is probably going to be a funny one, probably Success. I don't know if you remember that song. It's the one where it's like, here comes my Chinese rug. It's just like it's like him being like, I'm so successful now, and it's just a joke. It's all a joke because he's obviously making fun of success and like what people think success is.
Yeah, it'd be like someone today writing a song about their Amazon package coming today.
Yeah,
like, hey, oh,
it's like yeah, I got an Amazon gift card. Here comes success, man.
We did it.
We did it. Started from the bottom. Now I'm here.
Yeah, my top 3 were Lust for Life. I agree.
Yeah.
I love a good opener. Like I've said that on this show so many times that like opening cuts make or break records.
Oh, of course.
And this one was a good opener. Neighborhood Threat was on my list.
Neighborhood Threats. I forgot about Neighborhood Threat. Yeah,
Neighborhood Threat's great. And then my last one was Fall in Love with Me, like the closer. And specifically because I think the organ is like the most underrated instrument, underrated as hell.
Which organ?
Like kind of like I think it's called like a theater organ.
Oh, okay.
Like not
that
like
organ.
I mean I love a good like grand church organ as well. Like I went down a rabbit hole once upon a time, like learning about how organs work.
Oh, really?
Not my internal ones, but like the pipe kind. But like the theater organ is such a fun sound. Like Animals. Fuck, what is the name of that fucking song? It's so famous. It's killing me. House of the Rising Sun.
Oh, yeah.
House of the Rising Sun. Dude, that organ solo in that song is so goddamn sick.
Yeah.
So the fact that it kind of featured that same kind of organ, I was like, yeah.
Nice. That was mostly just a jam song.
Oh, okay.
He kind of just wrote the lyrics as he went.
Oh, no. Has the jam band people in the scene been getting in my head?
Everything's in now.
No.
That's why it's like a 6-minute song.
No. I can't do this. They can't win, John. They can't win. All right, so John, in your like experience / opinion, what are the boxes that an album needs to check in order to be like a good album for you?
For me,
yeah,
it's gotta. I mean, all the songs need to hit or nearly hit.
Okay,
so like
what
if
classifies
10
a hit?
Songs,
yeah,
if it has 10 songs and 8 are good, 8 are like jams, then I'm like, oh, that's a great album.
Yeah,
perfect album. But I like. Because I collect records, you know, vinyl and shit. When I started off, I was like, I can't just buy any album for like one song. I don't want to buy a record if I only like one song on the album, because then it's just taking up space, and it's like, just get a 45 at that point, or even better, we live in 2025.
Right.
Just stream it from Spotify or whatever.
Yeah.
Favorite it on Spotify or Apple Music.
Or if you really want to support your artist, just download that one song from Bandcamp.
Yeah.
So they have to be hits. What's a John hit? Like, what defines a hit for you?
I'm actually more lyrically inclined than musically. So the lyrics have to be quality stuff. They can't. It can't just be just bullshit.
Sure.
Something deeper, something that you might have to decode.
Okay. Yeah.
So that was always my problem with like musicals.
Yeah.
is because there's no mystery to what they're saying.
It's so in your face.
It's
yeah.
so obvious about what they're feeling and what they're saying, because they just are like, I am angry.
Yeah.
It's like, well, yeah, but you can like use some metaphors or something.
Right. I also appreciate when music is like cryptic to a certain degree.
Yeah.
Because like that's part of the fun.
Yeah,
Is like
too.
decoding it.
Yeah.
And being like, yeah, I feel like I'm in this with you now. Like I get what you mean. That's cool. So it needs to be like lyrically there. It can't just be on the nose.
Yeah.
What about musically? Like
musically, I mean, but I'm not smart enough to like understand chord progressions. And,
sure,
like,
I also don't think that deep on it either.
Yeah.
Like I'm like, as far as like for me, it's like it needs to be fast paced. I don't like plinky guitars. Like when it like really soft singing and like really like it's usually not my thing, especially in the modern age. Like but so like usually it's like fast pace is usually something that I'm into. So where do you land with that musically? Like,
I mean, musically, I like a lot of stuff. So because I can listen to a plinky guitar. I like Buffy St. Marie from the protest singer from the 60s, Bob Seger.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, this is just such a in your face rockin' album.
Yeah.
So I'm looking for stuff that's fits the genre in which it's presented.
Okay. Yeah. So, like, we've defined your boxes, right? It's got to be, like, lyrically charged, like, at least, like, smartly written.
Yeah.
And then musically it needs to match what was going on, like, what they're, like, calling themselves.
Yeah.
So how well does this check your boxes?
This is 10 out of 10.
Yeah.
This is great.
What's your favorite, like, lyrical moment, given, like, what you like about decoding? Like, what's something that sticks out to you every time?
Well, like that, Neighborhood Threat's a great one.
Mm-hmm.
Some Weird Sin on it.
Okay.
I think that song's about just trying to like become a normal person.
Mm-hmm.
Because he had such a wild life that I think it's because he says that I'm trying to break in, but I know it's not for me.
Being unique is a really alienating,
I know, right?
feeling, and I get that.
Yeah.
So yeah,
like you just had some like small weird sin that you could share with people.
Yeah.
Kind of like a hobby or something, you know. It's just, but it's like he. But then he says, "I'm trying to break in, but I know it's not for me." That's what you get out on the ledge, with your head on the ledge. That's what you get out on the edge.
Yeah.
Some weird sin. Okay.
Yeah. So, like, what's your peak moment of this record? What's like the because like there you have your top 3 songs. Like, like so like a lot of times when I put on music and I'm like really waiting for one thing to hit.
Yeah.
Is there anything on this record that's that one thing?
Let's see. Not really, because it just starts off so good and then just doesn't let up, in my opinion.
Hell yeah, yeah. All right.
So it just keeps going. Like I said, I like the actual physical disc of that. So I like flipping the record and like being like, okay, what's this side gonna sound like?
Yeah,
you know, like that kind of thing. Like because before you could stream it, you had to like physically get it up and
right.
And so you might listen to the whole side for like 5 times in a row, and that just trying to listen to everything on it.
Yeah.
And then you flip it over, and you discover a whole other side that could be wild, like David Bowie's "Low." The whole side is just a musical. The whole B side is just one track.
Oh wow! Yeah. That's impressive. It's interesting. So, like, you say it's pretty consistent throughout. When you flipped this one over, is there like a tonal shift for you? Like, or
I think there is. I actually think there is because it starts off with success. It starts off the first side so it's just so like in your face, heavy going, rock and roll, and then on the second side it's a little more let the music play. You know, like not so. It's a funny, more like affable side.
Okay.
Except for Neighborhood Threat, which is on that side, but Success, Tonight, not Tonight, Turn Blue, excuse me. Success, Turn Blue, which is him just kind of talking about a heroin overdose he went through.
Which is much sadder than the Turn Blue from
Yeah.
the Black Keys.
Yeah. What's their Turn Blue? About them auditioning for the Blue Man Group?
Yeah, I don't think it's anything to do with heroin. I think it's more of a sadness situation.
Oh, yeah. The Bluebird of Unhappiness.
Yeah. What are you going to do? Well, you're going to have those in Akron.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That close to Youngstown? Watch out.
Yeah, get out. Well, that kind of closes out like the pedestal portion of like talking about like how like the your ups of the record, so to speak. Let's move on to discourse, which is where we talk about the things that I kind of noticed along the way, where I was like, huh. So I already kind of talked about this, like who came first, Iggy or Bowie, because they were so. I was like, this is so Bowie coded.
I know Iggy actually came a little first with the band The Stooges, I think, but David Bowie came around in 68, 69. So yeah, they probably came, but Iggy Pop with The Stooges was in Detroit.
Okay.
So that's where they first started, was Detroit, opening for like MC5 and other notable acts. But I mean, just the sound they but the sound they created together was so good.
Yeah, there's definitely. I was like, wow, this sounds so much like Bowie. Even the way he sings, like certain notes that he's hitting, I'm like, oh gosh, it just sounds so much like Bowie.
Yeah.
Especially like early Bowie, like Ziggy Stardust kind of kind of era. So which I thought was like really interesting. Which song do you think is like the most like Bowie coded off of this record?
Let's see, because he even went on tour with Iggy Pop to promote this album.
Oh wow!
Yeah, he played piano.
What a good friend.
Yeah, I know, right? And he was like, and he didn't say anything. He didn't.
Oh, that's
he
sick.
just played piano.
Yeah, that's tight.
Yeah.
But any song that popped out to you like that's like more Bowie than the rest?
Probably Turn Blue or no, not Turn Blue. Excuse me. Tonight. He was a good friend. He made some songs that Bowie sang, like Bowie covered Iggy's songs in the 80s and stuff when he was having trouble getting.
Oh wow!
Like when he was back on heroin.
Yeah.
Doing drugs, killing himself. So Bowie released Tonight, but he left off the first part of about that saying, I saw my baby turning blue. So he left off that because he said that he was like, that's an Iggy lyric.
Yeah.
So he just sang the chorus and stuff and made it pop. That was a pretty good hit for him.
Yeah, I'm not as versed in this album as I'd like to be. But like it felt to me like a lot of the Bowie influence came in on the back half. Am I
really?
Yeah.
Yeah, I could see that.
Because he said that front half is a little more rippy. Like, yeah. And like Bowie never hit rippy to me.
Oh.
And so I was like, I feel like I hear more of this Bowie influence on the second half.
Yeah, I'd probably say Tonight was because that do 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 do.
Yeah,
that's that thing. That feels more like Bowie to me.
Yeah. So you seem to like enjoy a lot of like music from the 70s, etc. What about the 70s and like that era of music really sticks out to you?
I think there was just so many genres. It was such a formative time for like new like you had like punk in 70 like with Iggy Pop and the Stooges coming out. That was started. You had funk basically get started, and you had in the 70s. You had rap even started in the 70s in 73 with Kool Herc.
Yeah.
And everything. It was just I think it was just the dystopian times that were the 70s.
Okay.
I think because that just forced people to create different genres. Like heavy metal was created when Black Sabbath released their first album in 1970.
Yeah. Yeah, it does seem to be like a renaissance of the music era.
Yeah.
But it's just something that I never dove into. So I was feeling kind of like self-reflective during this, where I was like,
I think because it was such a shitty time. like I mean, yeah, but like people want to talk about like, oh yeah, it was the best time to be like young and whatever, and I'm like, yeah, it probably was, but it was also like you were dealing with Vietnam War still. In the aftermath of that fallout, you were dealing with the most. Sorry, I had to bite my tongue. The most corrupt president we had up to that point.
yeah,
Resigning. You had old people restrictive of the young generation. Like they used to say like don't trust anybody over 30. It's like that's how old you were if you were in the 70s. If you were 30 years old, it's like, oh yeah, right, old man.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah,
that's crazy to think about. Because I feel like a child.
I know, right?
And I'm 31. Yeah, someone called me a grown man in the comments. It's like, you're a grown man with a beard. And I was like, literally no.
I am not grown.
I am basically a child.
I'm just an elongated child with some hair on my face.
Like, oh, I'm sorry. Because he's like, I had referenced 9/11. And like, I was like, I was in the second grade during 9/11. And the guy in the comments was just like, he's like, what do you mean a grown man was only in the second grade during 9/11? I was like, okay, everyone, first of all, I am a child. I had leftover pizza and peanut butter pretzels for lunch today. I am not a grown man.
Yeah.
I don't have children. I got nothing.
I can't even feed myself.
Yeah. But yeah, like, cause you're not the first to bring like a record from this era to the club, and I always feel like I'm on my back foot during these episodes as opposed to others, because I'm like more versed in like more modern music as far as like from like probably 2005 on.
Oh, see, that's where I like dropped off.
Yeah, so like I always find these conversations super interesting, and like why I welcome this kind of content, because like this is how I learn. Right, like without being gate kept by
of course, no. Like, don't go to record stores and ask what's good music.
They'll be dickheads about it.
Yeah,
but
but I mean, I just love this album. I love Iggy Pop so much.
I figure Iggy Pop is like an influential artist in and of himself. Like, because like we talk about like Bowie influence on him. Because like in music, lineage is such like a conversation, like who influenced who, and like can you follow the family tree?
I know,
that's half the fun of talking about music.
Yeah.
So who would you say Iggy Pop influenced most? It's like, let's see if we can connect our gap here. Is like what I wanted to try and do.
Oh, I mean, with a Stooges sound and that he cultivated, it launched. There were so many different punk bands at the time. I mean, like the Clash, the Ramones, the Sex Pistols, probably all of those were influenced by Iggy Pop.
And eventually that does make its way to like My Chemical Romance.
Yeah, well, yes.
Which I'm like, yes, that's where I pick up
the original punk sound of the 70s. There's so much debate. I'm sure people will debate in the comments here over who was actually the first punk or whatever.
Sure.
But I've always heard, and what I've always kind of agreed to, is that the Sex Pistols started it, the Ramones popularized it, and the Clash perfected it.
Okay.
About punk music from the 70s. And then, that just gets drawn into very different directions. From the 70s, you have the hardcore scene in DC with like Bad Brains and everything.
Yeah. Which is still thriving today.
Yeah,
like, because
Minor Threat,
like Turnstile came from
really?
Baltimore. Yeah, like sort of like the DC area. Yeah. And they rock.
Yeah, they're great.
And so like where's like our 80s 90s connection, because like from like My Chemical Romance, one of my favorite bands, to like Iggy Pop, I know it's there.
Let's see here. Okay, so we're in hardcore DC, Bad Brains, Fugazi.
Okay. Yeah.
Fugazi gets a little bit up. You can get into that from the DC area. Up until 92 maybe, with 13 songs.
Yeah.
If you know that album. I mean, and then Green Day coming out in 93.
They were big in the DIY in like the Bay Area.
Yeah. Out of the Bay Area, but that's still that fast-paced, aggressive kind of just murdersome lyrics that come out of punk is still felt today.
Yeah. And that's like what I love about that stuff. Like, and then it got really kind of sissy. Like, like there's like a softcore contingent of punk music that I think there's like where like mall emo comes into it, and like people like to lump in My Chemical Romance with mall emo. I don't agree. But there's like Mayday Parade and like all these sort of like when the labels were really getting vicious with signing literally anyone to see what stuck. There's like Attack, like the crab core. Is what it's crazy.
Lost me.
Exactly.
What's crabcore?
It's a stance in which they like hold their guitars with their legs like real wide and kind of just go like this. Brutal.
Okay.
Yeah.
Damn, we've come a long way.
We have from Iggy Pop. But yeah, like
have you ever seen him like concert footage of him?
I haven't.
Oh, dude, you got just the way he dances. It's just like. It's like the way he dances influenced like Axl Rose and just trying to be like a slinky sex god.
Yeah.
But he's just always been so wild. I've never been able to see him live yet, and I'm worried that that'll never be able to because he's getting up there.
Yeah. Is he still touring? Like, does he still do shows?
He does shows. I don't know if he's tours.
Yeah.
But it's usually over in Europe. Mostly.
Yeah.
And that's always a bitch.
Seems like kind of a bitch.
Yeah.
And then it's a whole
show
to do
on the BBC 6.
Okay.
He has like a weekly radio show.
Nice. What does he talk about on that show?
Let's see. He likes the Viagra Boys.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hell yeah.
He talks about a mill and the Sniffers.
Okay.
Do you know them?
No.
Oh man, they're pretty good.
Okay, and so what? Like in my something I picked up on, like I already kind of called him Punky Holly.
Yeah.
Like was this kind of the the beginning of the transition out of like the doo-wop era of music? It felt that way.
What do you mean by doo-wop?
Well, not
doo-wop's like 50s.
Yeah. Well, like not necessarily doo-wop, but like it just like it just feels really Buddy Holly to me.
Yeah,
like in certain ways, where of like just like very straight laced, but like like speed up the guitars and then like it feels like that to me. I don't know.
Feels like it's straight laced. This man, I know he looks like this, but
yeah. Well, I just meant like
if you Google a picture of him, I'm sure you're not gonna find one with his shirt on.
Well, like my thing was, I was like, it felt like the beginning of the transition out of that.
Yeah.
Because like clearly he isn't, but it felt like it still had some like tones of that in there, where it was like still like acceptable.
I think that was probably the Bowie influence.
Okay, like in like the popularization, you mentioned that well, like making it a little more palatable.
But I mean, it wasn't popular when it first came out because it came out the same week that maybe not the same week, but around the same time as Elvis died.
Oh shit!
And it was released on RCA. Which owned almost all of Elvis' discography, so they were busy promoting Elvis shit. Right. So this came out, and they were like, "Yeah, here you go. This is like an original copy of the album."
Nice.
I have, but it's it didn't do well for years until Trainspotting mostly.
Oh shit!
Trainspotting, that movie featured like 3 songs from it, and then all of a sudden this became a top 20 selling album in like 1996. It took like 20 years to be popularized.
God. Dude, that sucks.
Yeah.
Like timing and luck and all that thing that goes on in like in the creative space. Like just hopefully you're lucky. And it pops off. It's like a Vincent Van Gogh situation.
I know, right?
You know, where all of a sudden like like, oh, now we give a shit.
Yeah. Yeah.
That sucks. Like, that's like Toxicity by System of a Down came out like the same week as 9/11.
Yeah. I think it came out on 9/11.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, like, and I was like, oh.
Because music used to be released on Tuesdays.
Yeah.
Did you know that?
Oh, yeah, I did know that.
Okay.
Now it's Fridays.
Well, now it's whenever they fucking want.
True.
Like,
Yeah, it is. I know, like, for big artists, they try to wait till Friday.
Yeah.
For like Tuesday is still a traditional day for like some of like the smaller acts.
No, really.
Yeah, but like not for the bigger acts like the Drakes and the Kendricks and whatever.
What was it? It was movies came out on like Friday. I think comic books came out on like Thursdays, and like records and albums came out on like Tuesdays.
Yeah.
It was like
there's a cycle.
it was all formulated for no reason. I mean,
Yeah.
it's just like, oh, today's the day you go to get your music.
Yeah.
It's like just get
Well,
your
so
music.
it could herd the
the
folks to the
what I
different
think it is.
stores.
That's what I'm
Yeah.
pretty sure it was.
But all right, that brings me to the end of discourse. That's mostly what I had as far
All
as
right.
like my question was like, which brings us to our final section on a turntable, is where we talk about you and your creative life and the influence that Iggy Pop may or may not have had on it. You ready?
Yeah.
All right. So, what are some of your similarities with Iggy Pop?
Abuse of
what?
ourselves.
Okay, I was like abuse, like as in you were abused, or
No,
you
I
abused
got
things?
you out. I abuse things.
Okay.
I've had a reputation for being a pretty wild man. I like to
Sure.
drink. I like to smoke. I like to do drugs. But more than that, it's just the fact that you got to give it your all every time.
Yeah. You do. You also, I would say, you have a very inclusive sort of vibe to you.
Yeah.
And which is like very punk.
Oh, really?
Yeah, punks are like, well, at least like that's the ethos that punks want you to believe. Is
Yeah.
that they're a very inclusive bunch, and
Yeah.
you are very like kind in how you handle things, and I imagine that's a very punk. Like,
Yeah. I tried. I would not call myself a punk.
Right.
Just because that seems like it's opening up a whole can of worms that I don't want to be in. Because there's so much people will fight you over if you're a poser, if you're a punk.
Sure.
And I'm like, I'm not punk. Look at me. I'm not. I'm not.
I'm wearing
like
a gold chain.
Yeah, I'm not. I'm not dressed like a punk. I'm not. I don't claim, but I do like the punk ethos. I love like the Clash and Joe Strummer's kind of ethos of stuff that he would talk about. But more than that, it just gives me the Iggy Pop gives me like the ability to put your all in. It's almost Zen in a way, where you got to put your all into it every time, but you don't give a fuck.
Yeah.
You got to not give a fuck.
Like,
But still, you got to like want to do well, but not try to do well.
Right. Yeah. I actually get that. Like,
Yeah.
like the more you trying does not equal wanting.
No.
Like, and wanting does not always equal trying.
Yeah.
Like, it's a fascinating world we live in. I know I didn't mention this up top, but it will be in the description for those. But like, John is a comedian.
Sorry, I forgot.
Yeah, we forgot that part of the intro. I've been tough on that. But like, we're a comedian, so like, it's gonna be very geared towards his personal creative outlet, which, as far as I know, is comedy primarily.
Yeah.
Unless you have a secret art talent that I'm unaware of.
No, not at all.
So, because like I often talk about like the weird 5-dimensional puzzle that is comedy, and like how much
5 dimensions.
Yeah.
Damn.
Like,
Space and time.
Exactly, space and time, and like reading the room, and like and like understanding like the running order of your jokes and all that kind of stuff, and like the more effort I put into writing often is worse than if I just like went up there and ripped it.
Yeah.
Like, so
I'm not a good riffer. I write.
Yeah.
I write everything down.
I've gotten to a point it's like bullets.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
like-
what I try to do.
Yeah.
But when I first am writing a new joke, I'll write it all out.
Yeah, okay. I will have the premise and like a punchline, and I will like work out how to get from A to B
Yeah.
up there. And then as soon as I hit it, I'll like cement it.
Yeah. I understand that. I've tried that. I mean, I've tried that too. Sometimes it works for some jokes, but then sometimes it doesn't. Like,
Right.
because you like when you find a way that it works and you cement it, then I find I can't deviate from that cement.
Yeah.
So I'm just gonna write it down. Anyway, I'm not a riffer.
Yeah.
A lot of people can go up and just have like a topic and just be like, what the?
Yeah.
And I'm like, and just go with what they're thinking. I'm like, no, I'm not the best speaker, ironically, but so I'll like write things down and then try and like be like, you need to say this sentence exactly like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like that's how I analyze my jokes now. It's just like cut the fat, cut all the fat off it. Like even if I say like, oh, I don't need to say the word of in there.
Oh wow.
And I'll be like, cut that out, trim it down to just the fun. But but there are so many different styles of comedy that there are people who are very good at just riffing.
Yeah.
They have an idea. They have like one line that they know works. And the rest is just built around that one line.
Yeah.
And they'll just riff on it. And I'm like, I can't do that.
How much do you think of Iggy Pop was improvised versus heavily written like this?
I think
like performance versus album is different.
Yeah, it is. From what I've read, he actually improv some of the lines like on this song Turning Blue on the side 2 and the last song on the album as well. It was kind of all improvised.
Okay.
So I think I think he can do both.
Yeah.
He was just a master.
Trying to figure out where he lands on this spectrum.
Yeah.
What else? All right. How does music affect your comedy writing? Like, does it affect your comedy writing? And if not, would you be open to trying to like have it like what about Iggy Pop would you want to like stuff into your comedy writing?
Comedy writing. Let's see. Iggy Pop. Yeah, I don't know. That's a hard one because I'm like trying to think about if Iggy Pop's how to write a. I'm sorry. I'm like, should I write a joke with Iggy Pop in it, or
no? Like,
or
so,
just listening to music?
Because like sometimes
while I'm writing comedy.
Yeah.
Okay.
The second one, like, how does music influence your comedy? It's not writing jokes about music. It's just like because like I am a fan. Like I like in art school, they're like taught you how to steal. And so, you know, and it's like essentially what about this thing inspires you to write in your voice? And I'm always curious about that.
I mean, I get him being a degenerate. so that's like what I like about him.
Yeah. I've seen you do a bit recently where you lay on the ground.
Oh,
like,
yeah,
that's new to me. I don't know how new it is in your repertoire.
I wrote it years ago, probably 12 years ago at this point.
Because that feels really Iggy Pop coded to me as far as what you've been telling me as like him leaving it all on stage and like really getting into it. That does feel Iggy Pop coded to me.
I did it like that joke where I pretend to die and then give a great speech right before I die.
You're like, hey, wonder how if you're wondering how I got here. Like it feels like that kind of thing.
Yeah. It's definitely inspired by that. But yeah, just giving it as much as you can. I stopped doing that joke like 12 years ago or something. I did it like 3 times and it worked really well.
Yeah.
Every time. So I was like, I can't trust that.
I'm gonna leave this one.
Yeah, so I just dropped it and I found it again recently. I was like, oh yeah, I should try and bring that back, but the falling on the ground, you got I have to warm them up to make sure that one works.
Yeah. Cause like, I guess that was like a good example of like what I feel is Iggy Pop coded as far as like leaving it all on stage. Is there anything else that like when you're writing that you're like looking to other sources? It doesn't even necessarily need to be Iggy Pop. Like what's something that like just something that isn't like another comedian.
Yeah.
I'm always curious of like where people are drawing inspiration.
Oh. Yeah, anything that's not comedy, that's hard. Well, I'll be honest. I've always said that I think new comics think it's all about being confident on stage. Old comics will tell you it's about being more vulnerable.
I agree. That's so like.
So I've been trying to like look at some of my traumatic moments and try and make them funny. Not all of them have to be funny. I'm not saying that.
Yeah.
Some of them are gonna be things that give me nightmares still.
Sure.
But if I can turn some of the traumatic events in my past and learn to make fun of them, I think that's how I'm kind of like coping. That's how I kind of grow.
Yeah, because one of my larger like comedic influences that isn't like a stand-up is Judd Apatow.
Oh yeah,
I've mentioned that a million times. I fucking love that guy.
Yeah, he's great.
Yeah, he's produced like every one of my favorite movies, and it's like why I want to get into producing in general is have more like creative control over like these yahoos that are very talented but are ultimately yahoos. I love his style of vulnerability, like, because like Superbad is about a friendship.
Yeah,
you know, it's about a friendship and like being separated from your guy. You know, like going off to college.
That's romance.
Exactly, that's what that movie's about. Same with like I Love You Man. It's like about insecurity. You know, and like that's like what I love about, and that's like where I try and shove like even like an inkling of that into my bits is like is the goal, and whether or not it actually happens, because like we all want to be funny, so like if that doesn't hit but like a dick joke does, I'm gonna go for the dick joke. I know. But you got to learn how to tell the dick joke with the traumatic like a traumatic dick joke. Then it becomes an uncle's dick joke. Yeah, man. Anytime I talk to a comedian, I try and figure out like what their creative influences are, and like if the stars align and it's like Iggy Pop, you know, because I used to do writing exercises, and I've mentioned this so many times recently on this show, where I was like, I will make the soundtrack before the script that I'm writing before I even write the script. Damn, you know, and try and like you know, just be weird about it. Like, what about Iggy Pop? You know, like, or like, you know, Frank Ocean and like SZA, all these people that I love a lot. Like, I was like, what about this can I incorporate in my own niche? I always try and get these like creative little questions rolling.
I think, I think it just came from so much. Hold on.
Oh man, you're good.
I'm crying. Do you want me to cry for this episode? Would that get the numbers up?
You can.
No, I just love Iggy because of he dances. If you think Tom York dances weird, you should watch Iggy Pop. He's just like it influences the music. The way he moves influences the music. Like they said, like the band couldn't even play. Like back in the early days when they were recording like their first album, the band played better when he was in the room dancing.
Oh wow, just like raising the vibe.
Raise the vibe.
Interesting. Yeah. What do you think about like your movements on stage? Like, do you think that would raise the vibes at all?
I mean, if I started dancing weird, not really, but
I know your laugh raises the vibes in a lot of rooms because like it saves a lot of people from killing themselves. You've saved so many lives.
I know, probably. Yeah. Andrew Rudick once wrote like I probably would have quit comedy or killed myself if it hadn't been for Billy DeVore and John Holmes's laugh.
Yeah, it's because like even in my early days of returning back to the comedy scene, like you've saved me from like just like quitting. Like because like one laugh, I'm like, all right, that saved me. Like we're gonna come back next week.
We're gonna work on this. We got this.
Yeah, that's interesting. All right, so for my final question, if there's a lesson from this album you'd want to take and apply to your work, what would it be? And this could also be negative, you know, if you have a critique of the album, you're like, I'd do this differently, or if he did something that you absolutely truly love, and like, what would that be, and why? How would you apply it to your own creative work?
Well, let me think about that. That is, how would I apply this album to my creative work? I think of the way success was the the way success, the song success on this album, sounds and what he's singing about. I think that's influenced me a lot too. Just that song, the idea that here comes success, and how every time he, it's kind of a, lighthearted song.
Yeah.
But just where he's just basically saying like, "Oh, I finally got it now."
Yeah.
And you think it does, but like I said, this didn't even this barely charted when it was released.
Yeah.
So unfortunately, it's an unfortunate irony.
Yeah.
And I see that, and I feel that a lot whenever I think of, oh, this is gonna get me a good spot. This is gonna get me noticed. This reel's gonna be the one that goes viral.
Yeah, this one's gonna hit.
Yeah. And so I try and remember that, and I try to remember that it's usually not.
Yeah, right, dude. God, it's so fucking disappointing.
But you can still keep going. You can still rock out.
Dude, the emptiness I felt after something big sucks.
Yeah.
It is the absolute worst. Like, I could name you a few. Where I'm like, we're doing it. And then, like, it's just not. And you're like, awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get that. Yeah. Do you think you would apply, like, so the lesson you would take from that is just like letting it roll? Just
let it roll. You don't think that you need success to be successful.
Right.
If that sounds stupid, it probably does.
Kind of like, well, like, I think like extracting happiness away from success.
Yes.
Like, because, like, I think you're going to, like, I talk about this a lot with comics where it's like, you're going to want to fall in love with the process in some way, shape, or form. Otherwise, you're going to freak out.
Yeah.
Like, because if you're constantly looking for the thing that's going to hit and then it doesn't, brother, you're in for a world of hurt.
You're just going to be a bitter comic, and there's so many of those.
There's a lot of those. And they're all very talented, but they're all very bitter.
Very bitter.
And like you're gonna like that's like usually my advice is like, all right, then take a step back and find something about the process you like and zero in on that. That way you can at least keep going.
Yeah.
Because the only like natural like, or the only like where are my words? The only like main thing between everyone who's ever been successful is that they just didn't stop.
Yeah.
So you have to find the way in which you don't stop.
Yeah, dude.
And
don't stop, won't stop.
Yeah, and it, like Iggy Pop's had a very long career, so it's obviously he fell in love with that. So that's probably my takeaway is that like obviously he liked something about this.
Yeah,
and I struggle with that all the time, whether it be stand up, this show, anything like that. I'll be like, why the fuck am I doing this?
Yeah,
and then. Because like I'm sure you've also gotten off stage like, why the fuck do I do this to myself?
Yeah, I had to give myself a pep talk before signing up in an open mic recently.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Oh my gosh.
I remember one time I was so depressed. I wrote down my name and I was like, fucking what kind of name is that? And I'm just like I had this disconnect looking at my name and thinking about who I was, and I was just like, oh, I can't. This is the worst.
If only it weren't so relatable.
I know, right?
Like I always tell people, like, you don't get into this if you're well.
No.
Like, and it's about managing how unwell you are.
Yeah.
Because it's a brutal life.
Yeah.
But, well, man, thanks for bringing Iggy Pop. Thanks for bringing that into my sphere of influence.
Of course.
And help and talking about it with me. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
You have anything coming down the pipeline you want to tell the people about?
No.
Okay.
No, I'm on a show on the 21st of March.
Hell yeah.
At Enon Winery.
Nice.
My friend Jessica Grau puts it on, so I'm looking forward to that.
Hell
Usually sells out, so
hell yeah.
Get your tickets now at Enon Winery.
Yeah, man. In general, man, support local comedy. If whether you're here in Cincinnati or you're somewhere else, please go find where people are doing comedy. They work really hard on this, and your laughs would really cheer someone up. And also come check out the rest of the channel if you haven't before that. Like, comment, subscribe. Tell me everything that that I've said is stupid. I'm okay with it. I'm internet comments actually don't bother me. They're very funny. But yeah, man, come support Chameleon, John, the open mic that John hosts every Thursday. If you're here in Cincinnati, it's a good room. Sign up online. It's super great. But thanks so much for coming, man.
Yeah, thank you for having me, David.
Yeah, and thanks so much for watching. We'll see you in the next one. Peace out.